Hello, I want to welcome everyone to the Alva Manville Area Chamber of Commerce Business Filter that we're doing for cybersecurity awareness. We have our friends from AOF Engineering Systems. They are going to talk to you today about your first line of defense, kind of the basics of how to protect yourself from having any of your information stolen online. Uh, as you can tell with a lot of the things that are going on in the world today, we've seen a lot of big headlines of people who, big companies, big corporations who had their systems hacked. And so our friend Maha here is going to explain to us some of the basics that we can do on a much smaller scale to prevent that from happening to us. To tell you a little bit about AOF Engineering Systems, they're a local business, small business of ours in our community, in our membership. They've been working the last 14 years in several industries, helping out with IT work. They currently focus on small to enterprise level businesses to provide them with really good web development, mobile apps, all sorts of options. They've really done a lot of great work, especially helping small businesses out through the pandemic and shutdown period that all of us experienced. They offer lots of low cost options for any business or home for their IT solutions. So I encourage you to check them out anytime after this presentation today. So I want to first just thank our presenter, Maha. She's going to go through this for us, and if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat area, and we'll make sure to ask those during her presentation today. But thank you all for joining, and I'm going to hand it over to her. And again, if you have any questions, just add it to the chat. There's even an emoji up on top where you can raise your hand, and I'll make sure those questions get to her. So thank you, Maha. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Kerry. We've been discussing about having this session from almost over a year, and finally we were able to get here and be able to help our other members and our audience who are going to know more about basic stuff they can do to protect themselves. And of course, the first line of defense is awareness, and that's what we're going to do today. And it's going to be a high level overview on various cybersecurity threats. What are the terms, just for you to understand and know and be aware. And towards the end of the session, we will be knowing more about the common cybersecurity threats, do's and don'ts, how you can avoid certain things, and identify common cybersecurity threats that can lead you into getting into more complex issues. And of course, the most common thing that we find is not everybody is clear who is responsible for the organization's cybersecurity. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. And let me move to the next slide. Here, I'm just summarize the topics that we're going to cover. It's going to be more about passwords and password related do's and don'ts, the most common mistakes that happen and how we can avoid that. Social engineering. Honestly, I did not know this term till I started learning more about cybersecurity. What does it mean, and what do we need to be aware of? Phishing and ransomware. What exactly do they mean, and how does phishing lead to ransomware? And how do we save ourselves from that happening? Something more about internet downloads. What are the downloads you need to avoid, and sites that can, unknowingly get you into trouble? A little bit about that. Removable media, your pen drives and other media that you use and you share with others, or somebody is sharing with you. What are you supposed to do? What are you need to have caution about? Wireless connectivity. Again, we have internet available everywhere. When we go to public places, are we supposed to use it? If we don't have a choice, and if we are using it, what are we supposed to do? Some information out there. And for all the business owners who are worried about their information, their contacts, their leads, insider threat, that's what we're going to talk about. So these are the basic key points that we are going to discuss today. So before we start, we are going to have a little bit of quiz as well coming up through the session. So be ready. And here I would like to highlight three different questions that usually mostly, we come across when we talk about cybersecurity. So I would like to see what our audience think about these questions, as in yes or no. The first question is, the cyber attackers only target big businesses. What do you all think? Cybersecurity awareness is only for IT or technical people? That's the second question. And the third one,
Just a
go ahead.
reminder, as you're asking these questions, I want to again highlight the chat section. Feel free to answer your questions here, and I'll make sure to pass on the answers to Maha as we go along.
And the third one, technology alone can protect me from internet dangers. So while we have our audience answer that question, these 3 points or questions, I would say, is most commonly asked, or that's how people get confused, where cybersecurity comes from. It's not aiming at me. Hey, I don't have much money, I don't do a lot on internet. So they're not going to come to me. But the studies and the surveys say that 43% of the attackers are going towards small business because they know they are not armed. They are not aware. They do not know what to do, or they really don't think, they're ready for it. So it's an easy attack for them, and they really don't get to see a lot of news about them. So that's a soft target. And also, studies have shown that cybersecurity awareness, most of the people or the business owners themselves think that it's the technology's job or the technical department's job. Hey, this should be taken care of. Employees must have made a mistake, but your technology you need to take care of. So that's what we're going to clear. That technology alone cannot, for the second and third answer, technology alone cannot be able to protect you, guide you, or guard you from internet dangers. So unless there is any specific question there from you or the audience, I can move on.
We don't have any questions. We do have a couple people answering. A lot of people actually have really good answers, understanding that all businesses are at risk. In fact, Tricia had really good answers, understanding that all businesses are at risk and everyone does need to be aware, and that it is, for question 3, it is false that technology alone can protect them. So you got several people that at least know those basics, which is really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. As far as questions go, my big question is for hackers, how do they even just find the time to search out small businesses like this to try to do these attacks? You and I kind of talked about yesterday how I'm surprised. I feel like a lot of people could just get a normal paying job with how much effort it seems to go in there. So how are small businesses even show up on a hacker's radar?
So that was a very good question, Kerry. I would say, in this day and age, people say that I don't want technology. I am not using technology for my business, but you're using QuickBooks, you're using smartphones, you're using your phone information on your phone, and you're getting on the internet using your email. Everybody has an email,
Yeah.
and that's the door. That's exactly where they get in, and we are exposing our personal information. It's not just about a business. It could also be your personal information they can impersonate and take. So it doesn't have to be just the business. Yes, business definitely, you will have to look at you, your customers, and a bigger spectrum. But even somebody, sitting back home and using a smartphone and email are at risk. And we all heard about identity theft and things like that. And that cannot happen just by stealing your identity, but they actually get into your information through your emails or your smartphones. And of course, the apps. Okay, let's move on. We have very informed audience. I'm glad. And then the first topic I want to talk about is password protection. And according to me, password protection is very important. The key, because it's more like your door. It's where somebody enters into your business or your house. So if you have, like a lot of people mention that, I'll give an example. Let's say you have a security system at home. That doesn't mean you keep your door open. You still lock your windows, you still lock your door. The same way, if you are able to take care of your password and, stay protected, most of the hackers try to get in through the passwords. That is the door for them. That is the key for them. And the studies have shown, let me read out to you from the National Cybersecurity Center, 15% of the people use pets' names, 14% of them use family names, 13% use notable dates like their birthdays, marriage date, or something very significant, and of course, available for them on social media. And 6% of them use common passwords, which is, I'm not kidding, but password. That's what they use. Password 123, password 345, whichever is easier on the keyboard. So this is what even the National Cybersecurity Survey says, or the center says that people are using these passwords. We are educating them in every possible way. They have loads of videos online trying to educate people, make it fun way to tell them, please don't keep your passwords predictable. So the most common mistakes, like I said, using pets names, birthdays, street names, predictable information, phone numbers, and the numbers out here, which is written here, 1234 ABC, which is very common people use. And any word in the dictionary that is easier for the hackers because they already have that on the net to easily, run the algorithms and get to your password. Having said that, though my slide says 7 to 10 characters, but the latest information says from our experts that you need to have at least 14 plus characters in your password to keep it secure. Now, the first thing that comes to me and a couple of my, friends who are like me, my goodness, as it is, I can't remember the password. If I have to keep it that big, it can't happen, right? So we have a tip here for everyone on the call, the audience. The easier way and the best way that, you know, uh, the, what do you call that, experts are suggesting is, don't say a password, let's say a passphrase. What I mean by a passphrase is any sentence that you can remember. To the sentence, add your numbers, mix it up with numbers, mix it up with punctuations, an uppercase and a lowercase.
That's really good advice. I had a question here for you. You had mentioned very briefly that the hackers are able to get some of these common passwords that people are using through algorithms. Is there any other way that we're letting information out about pets' names? Like, how do we make sure we're not accidentally giving them all the hints they need to find out what a password is?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. There is an incident where people are writing it on their notepads and sticking it right onto the computer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There are instances, and there are people still doing that, and they would have written it and kept it very secure, which would be very close to the computer or in their phone where it's visible to everyone, or on the door or refrigerators, or somewhere near their coffee mugs.
Okay. So this idea of a password phrase, is it just because it can be longer and therefore it makes that algorithm just have a harder time figuring it out?
Complex, yes.
Okay.
It takes a long time, yes. And the shorter the terms, the times they run it to get the hack the password is faster.
Wow.
So we're just going to make it really difficult for them to open the door.
That's very good.
We're going to double lock it. Yes. And we're going to double lock it if we're going to have two-factor authentication. I know, including me, everybody hates two-factor authentication, but all the banks and secure communication that you have right now, they use two-factor authentication. They use a strong password suggestion. You need to change your password. It get expired in certain days or weeks because they make it mandate so people are using it. But when it comes to your business or anything that you do personally, you want to keep it easy. And one more thing that I just remembered is for the passwords, we have one password we use for almost everything that is important to us. So that's easy to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that again, if they can get that one password, that's a cakewalk for them. Wow, they get everything together. So we need to have a mix and match here and there, and then two-factor authentication. Let me highlight this to everyone. Even let's say you are working on Gmail, on your personal Gmail, there is an option they have included on Gmail. You can put your two-factor authentication. So we can help you out if anyone finds it complex to do something like this, or how to add a two-factor authentication to a Gmail. But even if you are using, you're a single owner and you use Gmail as your official email, you still can have a two-factor authentication.
Where would you suggest, if we're going to have multiple passwords with multiple authentications, where would you, like we mentioned, people don't like doing that because it's hard to remember. Where should we keep that information so that it's not easy for a hacker to find? But if we need help remembering certain things, are there good apps for that? Or should you just use pencil and paper? Or how would you suggest keeping track of all the passwords to make sure no one gets access to it?
That was a good question again. Yeah, you have a lot of tools available like LastPass and a couple of others.
Okay.
But based on the complexity of the business and the compliance that the business follows, we go ahead and suggest the right solution for our customers, whether it comes to business. But when it comes to your personal use or a very lighter use, we can probably use something like a LastPass, or there are a couple of others available. We can suggest that. But we cannot have something generic like a solution for everyone. But like I said, if you use a sentence that's very personal to you, you would remember that, and then you can add a few numbers and alphabets here and there, which is going to be easy to remember. So you can probably think what is the 5 or 10 things or sentences that you can think of from your life that nobody knows. That's why I said no more password, let's say passphrase. And add a little bit of numbers and some more secure features. And again, the two-factor authentication is going to make it doubly secure or triply secure. And then it's going to be easier for someone to, even they get your password, they still can't have the authentication number to be able to get into your emails. So that's going to make it really, really secure for someone to even step inside or get near the door. So this would be about the passwords, but we have a lot more things. Let's move on. But we would have a quiz coming up for our audience to see how much they are getting from what we are discussing today. And a very simple question, I think we've already covered this. Who do you think is responsible for cybersecurity? Or one developer, two everyone, no, I think three government, or hey, it's all about IT. So is it IT? Four. We'll
Again,
give a
for
few seconds.
anybody who just logged on, if you want to answer those questions in the chat section, there's a bubble up there. Click the chat bubble and you can give your answer down there and we will read them out. I see a lot of people are picking the number 2, which is very good. You've been paying
Wow.
attention. So that's good. And
So
then
we are going good. I think the information is getting through.
yeah, you've got a lot of people that know what they're doing there. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in this portion as well. We'll make sure we get them read off to Maha as we go along. But yeah, so far everybody's putting number 2, so that's good to see.
So just to summarize for the audience who joined in late, what we are trying to talk about here is when we are talking about responsibility, we are not just thinking that somebody is supposed to take care of it. When it comes to cybersecurity, all of us need to, first step is to be aware. And the second thing that we covered is passwords, which is your door and your entrance way for a hacker to get into your personal information or your organization information. That's what we were, discussing so far, just to recap. And then we will move on to the next section. So here's something that I educated myself as well, because I've never heard about social engineering, or I did not know there was a term to it. So I tried to understand what it was, and it's pretty clear and self-explanatory. Social engineering involves people trying to get to your emails and other communication through invoking urgency. Hey, can you take an action on this? It's an urgent mail. Can you open it? There is a parcel that is waiting for you. You have to take an action right now. Those kind of, thought evoking and creating an emergency, urgency, fear, and emotion where the victim quickly goes and clicks on something or gives the information to the hacker so they can get hands on to their either personal information or they access your computer. And while I say that, I just want to highlight one more point that I was hearing when I was going through the training of cybersecurity is they mentioned that a lot of people said, I'm just a person who sits at home and I use my computer for just emailing. I don't have anything that somebody can, take from me. But the new thing that these hackers are doing is they actually take over your system and they use it for malicious work. So without knowing, you're actually giving your system to do some kind of malicious activity. So it's I think the first step, definitely, again, I would reiterate, is to be aware. Don't think you're not the one. It's not my business. It's not for me. It's not for us. They're out there and they can get hold of anyone who's just not being aware or being protected. So coming to social engineering, we are having a lot of phone calls that also come, not just your computer, but your smartphones and your regular phones, where you get phone calls, people asking for information. I think, Jamie, you were mentioning you were getting, emails and, people trying to get you information for the banking, right?
Yeah, yes. We have had a couple of times where my boss and I have received emails and it says my name is the person sending the email, but if you click my name, it's not my email address at all. That has been a common problem that we've noticed here at our small business, is people pretending to be our coworkers, emailing us and then asking for specific information or asking to click a link of some sort.
That is so true. And I think I would say, I mean, almost every one of us, or at least most of us, would have come across at least one such instances where people are trying to get our information. We just listed a few of the examples here, like people representing government, they're calling from IRS. Hey, you have something due, you better make a payment right now, pass on your card information on the phone, we'll process it so you don't get any kind of warning letters and things like
Yeah.
that.
I just before you got on, I received a call on my cell phone about somebody from Google Business was calling me to talk about my Google Business site for the company. Um, and I've looked up several times, would Google ever call my personal cell phone to do that? And every time they're like, no, we would never do that. So yeah, it happens a lot. I also have lots of friends who on Facebook, they'll show up and say, I want to be your friend. And it's like, I'm pretty sure we've been friends for years, like my dad. I'm pretty sure we've been friends for a decade on Facebook. So I'm pretty sure it's not my dad asking me again. But somehow they're able to steal his picture, his name, create a fake profile, And then they just go through his list. So I've even had to get onto him to say, you've got to not make your profile public. You've got to make it private where only your friends you allow see.
Absolutely. And also, we should not put any specific information on our social media where people get to know our location or something that is, helping the hackers.
Yeah.
Where you are in that particular location on the trip. Sometimes, you really need to watch out because they know there's nobody at home. And also, they send out emails saying that, I'm stuck in so and so place to your friends, and can you pass on some money because I, lost my wallet and things like that, which I think a lot of people are aware as of now, but it can happen.
I hope so.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and technical fraud. Believe me, we are from technical company, and we get calls, and they are so genuine, so very close to genuine. It's easy to fall for it. We
Yes.
had a repair work that we got done for HP, and they actually know the amount that we spent. So they
Oh.
would call and tell me, "Do you remember that you paid so and so amount? We want to refund it to you." I said, "Why would you want to refund me?" I
Yeah.
mean, they want to refund the money. I was like, okay. And then we kind of probe them into it, and then we tell them that we're going to, talk to the FBI that, you guys are doing this. And they're like, they don't seem to be really worried.
Wow.
They know what to do. They don't seem to be worried. So yeah, I mean, they would first thing you need to caution us is when the phone comes in, does it say Microsoft? Does it say Amazon? Does it say HP or whatever name they are claiming? Or it's just some number?
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is if they are asking you, can you log into your computer and give me access and some kind of tools that can actually take control of your system? Watch out. What do they need that for? You did not call them. You
Mm-hmm.
did not ask for any support. And Microsoft doesn't have time to call each and every of their customer that is having trouble to find out, hey, you have a trouble, can I help you? I'm sorry, they won't do that. All these big companies don't have time to call you if there are alerts coming in your system. So do watch out on that. And of course, the bank impersonation, how people are trying to get, I'm calling you from your bank. Looks like there is a fraudulent charge. Can you verify your ID? Can you verify your username? No, a complete no there. And I think the banking part, most people are aware and they're kind of taking a caution there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but just to cover the point for someone who's not come across something like that, please be aware. Bankers never call and ask you for your user ID or your information. And definitely, telemarketing attacks. Hey, you got a prize. Remember, you went there and you've been there. They picked up your name in the prize. All you got to do is pay for the shipping and things like that. Where they again try to get anyone trying to get your card information, your personal identification, your user IDs. That itself should raise an alarm that it's not genuine. So unless there is any specific question, I'm going to move on. Just going to show some examples in the next slide of social engineering through phone or somebody trying to be meeting you in a public place and trying to ask you personal information. Hey, I'm from your same ethnicity. How are you? What do you do? And then slowly get to your personal information in the conversation, like your maiden name or your mother's name, things that are used in your banking. That itself should raise an alert. And like the points that we have earlier covered, it could be through any means. All we're trying to say is stay cautious. And even if you get a patchwork saying it's urgent, you need to run it through your machine, please contact your technical provider or somebody who is or your technology team to make sure that is a genuine patch that should be put on your system, because it's going to expose all the information in your system, including your passwords and your banking. So just a word of caution there. Quiz time again. So, audience, what do you think is social engineering? One, it's engineering work. Two, it's a form of social deception focused on gathering personal information like social security, banking, or getting fraudulent access to your information. Three, helping the society using engineering. Four, all of the above. What do you guys think after the session? I would know if I'm, putting everybody to sleep or they're getting the points. So I'm gonna
No,
wait a quick.
you've got very good listeners here. So far, everybody's answered with the number 2, so they are definitely paying attention. So that's good.
That's good. That motivates me to move on
Good.
to the next section, which is phishing and ransomware. I'm sure a lot of them know what it means, but they don't know what the terms are. So here again, it's more of the terms and some examples. A lot of us have already come across certain things through our day in day out life where we have uh, you know heard about phishing, which is nothing but obtaining information like username, password, credit card information, banking details. Basically, eventually they try to get to the money.
Hmm.
And these can come through phone calls, like we discussed before, or it can come through text messages. Hey, your Amazon package, it's on the way, but we failed to deliver. Can you click on this link to see the update? There you go. And the link doesn't even say anything like Amazon.com or anything like that. Just watch out the link, and it just doesn't have anything to do with Amazon or FedEx or whatever they are claiming to
Oh,
message you from.
that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that with those links that they put on there. How are you able to look at what the button is linking to? How are you able to see what the link looks like?
See, always the first thumb of rule is if it's a text message, let's say, I keep getting these messages. I kind of start looking at the link that they put in. First, I don't go there. I go to Amazon because my authentic site is Amazon. Why should I even look at that link or text? I went and looked at my Amazon and I did not have any order. Luckily, usually I have it every day. That's what my husband complains. So I almost bought the Amazon store. So luckily that day I didn't have any. So before I pressed it, I was like, wait a second, let me go to Amazon and check because did my son place any order by mistake? I'm charged for. I went to Amazon and there was no order to be delivered. So from then on, I started being cautious. I wouldn't click. I still get messages,
Hmm.
FedEx or some kind of tracking number to click on. But when you get it on your email, the first thing is who is the sender.
Hmm.
I think, like we discussed the other day, you have learned it over a period of time to go to that particular. Don't click on it, but just hover over the email name or
Hmm.
the link. It will actually show you where the link is coming from. And if the link and the name of the company or what the sender is sending you, that information does not tally, that's definitely a no-no. And you have mails coming in saying FedEx is about to deliver something, and you're in busy. They do it during the busy hours of the day where you don't get the time to think and you just want to rush into it.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah, you never get your these kind of emails and texts during the middle of the night. You get it during the peak time when you're thinking or you're in a rush to finish your work, and you already have some, maybe you're expecting some shipping to come in or you're shipping something, right? Your immediate thought is, oh, you know what? I already have something to be shipped. Maybe that is what it is, and you just go and click on it. So they also time it well, so they put you into a rush and they psych you into a time where you're really busy and you would go and click on it. So watch out for that. Do not rush into any kind of a shipping links or text messages that come through the phone. Your tax refund is available. your account has been compromised. Click on this link to find out what all has been exposed from your system, and the emails which are very unrealistic, and also realistic. You have to be cautious. Like you said, you have somebody or your own emails with your name going in, but again, when you look at the email, it's not coming from the same domain. Any big company or any organization, let's say, you send me an email, it says amcc.com, right?
Right.
And or org. So that's what you need to look for. If it says some Yahoo or gmail.com, but it is talking about the company, how is there is the mismatch there? So that's an immediate caution, and you would always need someone from your technology team who can watch out and let you know and filter, and at least minimize these kind of mails from getting into your main mailbox. But believe me, it's not completely possible. There are definitely tools available, but it's not completely possible. So everyone needs to be cautious and everyone needs to pay attention, especially when you're busy. Have someone who can help you with your emails, so that you are not rushing into clicking onto something that's going to get you into risk. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so ransomware. I think there is a recent incident that has happened, and we don't have to talk much about what happened, but yes, that exactly is what ransomware is, and a lot of people do not know what a ransomware is. So have some pictures out here. So what they do is they take over either your computer or your entire system,
Mhm.
or if you have an organization which is supplying something to your vendors or your customers, they completely take over, and this is the message they see. Until you pay them a certain amount, they do not release your information. There are ways, definitely, where how you can have your business continuity by backing up and doing certain steps. But to avoid, first, door your password. Second, these phishing links that come in, that will lead, if you're not paying caution to your passwords and your phishing, all kinds of different ways they're trying to get your information, they land up into ransomware. So this is more of a cause effect that happens from your previous, what do you call that, lack of security, or something that you did that probably opened up the doors for them to come in and take over. And there are a lot of people, or a lot of small businesses, unfortunately, who went out of business. They couldn't pay them back and they had to shut down. That's a very unfortunate thing. So we would try and possibly ask, our audience and people who are going to view this video to stay cautious. Use the first two steps that we mentioned. That is, be cautious about the phishing links and other ways they are trying to get to you. And the password, definitely the password would be the first door for them to enter. And do not use your browsing for any other purpose when you're at business, because you don't know which site you land up into, and you would, without even your knowledge, they actually get into a malware site which automatically downloads virus into your system, and you don't even know you went there. You're just probably trying to look at some other media site or some news or some kind of ABC news or whatever it may be, but that has got like side ads and advertisement links which are there, which you have not clicked on, but it automatically starts running softwares, downloads it. That's what is called drive-by downloading. I mean, definitely educated on that recently. Yeah, Kerry.
I had just read an article about that very thing, that nobody clicked anything, and it was a hospital over in London that had their whole system attacked.
Yes.
Which blew my mind that they weren't using their internet to do anything other than talk to each other, but somebody had opened up a website while they were between things, and it took over an entire emergency room, and it really caused a lot of terrible things. And they had to move patients to other hospitals in the city. Again, it just blew my mind that that was possible. I didn't know that you didn't have to even click on anything for that to actually just jump into a system. So that one really opened my eyes to how easy it is to accidentally fall into this.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to view my presentation? I think I lost it a little
No,
bit.
I can still see the ransomware slide.
Okay. Go back to the slide. Okay, I think I lost it a little bit. Do I stop?
Again, as you're getting that back up, everything. I don't have any questions in the chat, but again, I want to remind everybody if you do have any questions, feel free to put it there. Maha, as we come to a close, I wanted to ask you, what would you say if I'm a business owner, I've just started a business, I'm not too far down the road, what is the best or most important piece of security that they need to get immediately into their Wi-Fi internet system to make sure that they aren't open to any sort of attacks?
So first thing I would say is, like I mentioned, passwords.
Yeah,
First make sure you're secure, like it's a door
and like
that
you said,
lets all
passphrase.
these people
Start
coming
thinking
in.
passphrase instead of password. I think that's really good advice.
And it's not going to cost you any money to do that, nor you need a technical expert, nor you need technical knowledge there. Just
Gotcha.
start with your passwords and then make sure you're not clicking onto any kind of malware. And definitely a firewall is required to
Yeah.
make sure.
Do you mind explaining a little bit about what a firewall is?
Yes, of course. So when you have your, even let's say it's a solo computer that you're using, a firewall usually kind of cuts down on most of these malicious websites or people trying to get in. And especially sometimes without your knowledge, you're going into some kind of a website, it kind of stops you. It says, this is not a secure site, and just it blocks it. So a lot of times what people do is because it kind of causes an hindrance, they kind of remove firewall, but that's not a good thing to do. And we always need to have a firewall, and we need to have some basic stuffs like two-factor authentication, password, and some basic stuff which are required to keep yourself secure. So I don't know how much time we have, but I would just quickly wind up onto internet downloads. Again, it would go back to the phishing, and pass on this question to the audience. They can answer it in the chat. Removable media, again, I would want to tell them not to use removable media shared by somebody. It again, with the firewall, you can scan it and make sure that you're not using any, or at least letting something come into your system, which is a malware, or it could actually expose your information. I would just skip this for now. And a quick thought on the insider threat. Basically, there is a lot of information that can go out of your system, and there are tools available on cybersecurity that can help you to scan and also check the trend of your information going out of your company or your system. So if you see any kind of bulk mails going on any particular day or time, which is not normal, it can be traced. So there have been certain instances which have caused a lot of exposure to the organization, and with and without their knowledge. Again, if somebody is browsing and they are not aware, they expose the company into risk. Again, lastly, there are some FAQs, but I would let the audience take the time 5 minutes.
Again, this was very good. Lots of information. Oh, good. I was going to ask you, what is the best way to get a hold of you at AOF? I cannot recommend Maha and her crew more. They're just so knowledgeable, not only of cybersecurity, but also just about getting a website up for a company, especially a small company. Even apps, they're very good at getting apps up and going. So I highly recommend them if your business is looking to just redo their web presence online. I highly recommend what they do. or if you want them to just check out to make sure that your business is secure from any sort of these cyber attacks that we've seen in the headlines recently, they are a great resource to have and reach out to. So make sure that you check out their website that's listed there on the bottom corner, and also give them a phone call if you really need their help. Maha, thank you again for taking the time to put all this together. This is very good. It is a lot of information, but it's so important these days. And on the chat, you've got a lot of good compliments. A lot of people have really appreciated what you've done today. So make sure you read that. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. For our business builders, we have recorded this, so we will post it again later. So if there was something you missed, feel free to watch it again, or just reach out to AOF and they'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. With that, we're going to close it off here. Maha, again, thank you for doing this. This is really good help. And we hope to maybe do this again in the future with some other information. And again, you have one good question here. Nikita asked, can you offer exclusive training for employees in an organization?
Absolutely. So like I said, this is a vast topic and we cannot cover everything here in this call. If anyone requires to train their employees on the latest information and know more information, we can definitely do that. And we also do initial 2 trainings free of cost. If it's a senior citizens and any veterans, we can actually offer free trainings as well.
Oh, that's a great offer. Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to again say thank you. And if you have any other questions or details, feel free to reach out to Maha through their website, which is listed there on the bottom. And thank you again, everyone, for joining. Hope everybody has a good one. Thank you.
Bye.